Scar got everything he ever wanted, and it destroyed him. Not because he wasn't smart enough, but because of something he had been carrying his entire life. Something this movie shows you again and again, but never once says out loud. Everyone calls The Lion King a story about taking responsibility and finding your place in the circle of life. It is actually about the poison of comparison. And the thing Scar couldn't let go of, you have probably caught yourself holding on to at some point. It starts with a mouse. Let's look at the scene.
Life's not fair, is it? You see, I shall never be king.
He has the whole universe mapped out. Mufasa is in the sun. Scar is in the shadows. Scar knows this, but the way he holds himself tells a different story. He walks with a sneer. He knows every physical advantage his brother has and every weakness in his own frame. He has spent his whole life building a blueprint for how a king should rule, without ever standing on the edge of Pride Rock. There is a moment early on where Mufasa confronts him about missing Simba's presentation. Scar just replies, "I was first in line until the little hairball was born." And that is it. He surrendered his self-worth to a hierarchy before the movie even started. He talks about the throne the way you talk about a promotion that went to the charismatic person in the office instead of you. Not furious, not screaming, just bitter, settled. And settled is heavier than suffering. Suffering means you believe you can still fight it. Settled means you have made peace with being the eternal victim. Then Simba is presented to the kingdom. The whole savannah rushes to Pride Rock. Scar stays in his cave. Mufasa comes down to demand an explanation. "Is that a challenge?" Mufasa roars. "I wouldn't dream of challenging you," Scar replies. "As far as brains go, I got the lion's share, but when it comes to brute strength, I'm afraid I am at the shallow end of the gene pool. Scar cannot win in a fair fight. The rules of the wild are already set." So he manipulates a child, cuts a deal with starving scavengers, and launches a coup. If the stampede had not worked perfectly, if Mufasa had not slipped, Scar would have spent the rest of his life sulking in the gorge. The universe had to literally crush his brother to give him a shot at his own life because he would have chosen manipulation over direct confrontation every single time. That tells you something about how deep his insecurity goes. Scar takes the throne. He tells the pride Mufasa is dead. Watch his face. He looks like someone who just faked his resume to get a CEO job and is waiting for someone to call security. Throne of the Pride thinks this is a tragedy, but they accept him. Scar says it is the dawn of a new era. He will spend the rest of the movie trying to prove he deserves to be there. Scar implements a new system, hyenas and lions living together. It tries to enforce the respect Mufasa commanded effortlessly. He demands food. He demands loyalty. And his reign completely collapses. That entire kingdom, the circle of life, was built for Mufasa. For his temperament, his booming authority, his balance. Scar gets stressed, paranoid, and mocked by every stage of it. Scar later admits this himself when Zazu accidentally brings up Mufasa's name. Scar snaps, yelling,
"Never ever mention that name in my presence. I am the king."
Which means every order Scar gave that the pride resisted, he took as a personal attack. The system of mutual respect was never designed for a dictator like him, and Scar doesn't question his methods. He tries to force the Leonases to hunt empty savannah. He tries to act like a fearsome leader. And when it doesn't work, he doesn't think, maybe this approach is destroying our home. He thinks, I knew it. They still love him more. That is what is actually happening in the cave scenes later on. Scar has the crown. The problem isn't power. It is that Scar walked in with a picture in his head of what absolute authority looks like, and he has been trying to squeeze himself into Mufasa's silhouette ever since. When the crown doesn't fit, he doesn't question his leadership. He blames the Leonesses. Sarabi sees it. She tells him there is no food, the herds have moved on, and that they must leave Pride Rock. And honestly, from where she is standing, it is just logic. She is trying to survive. Scar is trying to perform. So he strikes her. He is furious. He yells,
"I'm 10 times the king Mufasa was."
He starts yelling about how he is the absolute ruler. All of it said like a man who knows everyone in the room is laughing at him behind his back. He didn't take Pride Rock for the responsibility. He took it because he thought the throne could sand down every part of him that felt small and weak and replace it with something that looked like it mattered. That is the blueprint, the one we watched him obsess over in the shadows. But now you can see where it leads. Scar didn't just envy Mufasa. He turned his brother into a checklist of everything he wasn't. And then he spent his whole reign grading himself against it and failing every line. He demanded loyalty the same way Mufasa did, but Mufasa earned it through protection. Scar demanded it through fear. Then the storm hits. Simba returns. And Scar's immediate response isn't to fight like a king. It is to fall back on his intellect, to try and corner Simba with guilt. He demands, "Tell them who is responsible for Mufasa's death. You've got someone in your head, maybe not a brother you betrayed. It could be a rival in your industry, a sibling who always got the praise, a peer who hits the milestones effortlessly. And at some point, you stop just feeling jealous and started trying to wear their crown. You adopt their management style, even if you are not confrontational. Force a loud, outgoing persona because theirs seems to get rewarded. You catch yourself demanding the respect they get organically. And underneath that, There is a noise you cannot turn off. This quiet noise running in the background. Do they know I am faking it? That is imposter syndrome turned toxic. People describe it as feeling like a fraud, but the fraud feeling has a specific shape. It is the distance between who you are performing and who you would be if you stop performing. Scar isn't afraid of dying. He is afraid of being seen without the mask on. Someone looking at his throne, his life, his face, and going, oh, it's just you. It's just the pathetic younger brother. You have your own version of Pride Rock too. The promotion, the status, the title you've decided will finally close the gap between who you are and who the picture says you should be. And you keep clawing toward it. Because if you get there and it turns out to be just a rock, if there is nothing magical about the title that automatically heals your insecurities, then all those years living in the shadows were for nothing. And sitting with that is harder than burning the kingdom to the ground. The crown was the weight. That is what Scar had to put down to actually be a leader, but he couldn't. That is what his tragedy is actually about. And Simba is walking up that rock. Simba backs Scar to the edge of the cliff. The hyenas are watching. This is it. The moment of truth. Scar doesn't see a nephew. He sees Mufasa's ghost coming to take back the jacket he stole. And Scar breaks, not with a roar. He shrinks. He begs, Simba, please. Please have mercy. I beg you. He blames the hyenas. It was the hyenas, those revolting scavengers, made me do it. He sells out his only allies. The one group he promised would never go hungry. The second the facade is threatened, he drops the king persona and reverts right back to the rat in the cave holding a mouse. As Simba says the exact thing Scar cannot comprehend.
Run. Run away, Scar. And never return.
Simba doesn't kill him. Simba spares him. And that is worse than death for Scar. It proves that Simba actually has the one thing Scar could never fake. True strength, grace. The very thing that makes a king. Scar throws embers in Simba's eyes and attacks because he cannot live in a world where he is exposed as weak. The fight that follows is the movie's thesis in action. Scar gets the upper hand for a second, but he has no real foundation. He fights with desperation, not purpose. Simba flips him over the edge. Scar survives the fall. But waiting for him at the bottom aren't loyal subjects. It is the hyenas. My friends, Scar smiles. Friends. I thought he said we were the enemy. Scar gets devoured by the very system of manipulation he used to climb to the top. The king who mastered the art of deceit gets destroyed by his own lies because he never actually built anything real. He just rented his brother's life and trashed the place. When most people hear letting go, they think moving on, forgiving yourself, healing. But this movie shows the dark side of what happens when you don't. Letting go here meant Scar needed to accept he wasn't Mufasa and find a way to contribute to the pride with his own brilliant mind. He needed to put down the blueprint of the booming golden king. Throne was just a rock the whole time. And he burned the entire savannah down trying to make it give himself worth. Scar looked at the crown and expected it to make him Mufasa. It only made him a tyrant.